Why the fuck did I buy this? This is the Razer Viper Mini Wireless Signature Edition, and this isn't even my second video about it. If you know, you know. This is number 224 of 1337, so I'm actually one of the first ever people to order this. That is to say, I'm one of the first ever people to be stupid enough to buy one. But as a reviewer, I have a justifiable reason for spending this money. So the question is it a scam? Was Razer right for releasing this, or were they wrong, and is it garbage, and blah, blah. Let's talk about it. Starting off with the shape. It's a Viper Mini. It's a smaller Viper, and if you've got smaller hands trying to palm grip, great. If you've got smaller hands trying to claw grip, great. If you have medium-sized hands like 18 to 21 cm long hands and you're trying to do a fingertip grip or an aggressive claw grip, great. If your hands are bigger than 21, 22 centimeters, probably shouldn't get it. That is the shape summed up. You've seen the Viper shape a billion times, and a lot of people know what the Viper Mini shape is like because it's so cheap and so common. The clicks on here are alright. They're a little too stiff. They're optical switches, which is great, but I think they made them even stiffer than like the Viper because the magnesium top is like even more stiff. I think the reason the clicks on here don't feel that great to me is because the magnesium shell is a lot stiffer of a material than the plastic you get on like a Viper or a DefEditor V3 Pro. So the clicks feel very hard to press down. Perhaps they need a few more days or a few more weeks of breaking in, but they don't feel all that great. For $280. The scroll wheel is a nice bit of metal. It's machined magnesium, which I actually really like. Like, it's a beautiful piece of art, this scroll wheel. It's normal. There isn't even rubber on it if that's what you like, a rubberized scroll wheel, but thankfully it's ribbed for your pleasure, so it's actually quite comfortable to scroll. And the thumb buttons are no longer wobbly, though they do not feel good enough for a $280 mouse. Like this feels not great. There's a bit of squishiness if you really press hard down on it, and it does feel a bit loose and kind of like you can wriggle it around in its place, which shouldn't be the case for $280 Razer. Like, come on, let's be real. It's too wobbly and wriggly and loose. Like, the Lamzo Atlantis Mini has better side buttons than this. On the bottom of the mouse, you find mice feet, so just your standard Viper Mini style mice feet, which is PTFE and nice, but it does come with a set of glass feet in the box, as well as some gamer condoms. Right, those are alcohol swipes. They do look like condoms though, but basically what you're supposed to do is if you want glass feet, you can just peel them off and wipe it down and then put the glass feet on. But I personally don't like glass feet, so I decided not to test them out and keep them for whoever I sell this gaming mouse to, because I'm broke now living in London. This place is so expensive to live in, holy shit. But yeah, the mouse is 49 grams. It's super duper light, which is great, but it's not that light considering how much you have to deal with holes wise, which is a big thing that a lot of people are really annoyed by. Like, it's got these big ass Darth Vader helmet looking type of holes, and it kind of looks like a Darth Vader helmet, and it looks like scaffolding on the side of a building in Hong Kong, which isn't the best. But as far as holes on a gaming mouse go, I personally actually don't mind this too much, because what this means is, yeah, dirt and dust and grime is going to get in there, but at least it's a lot easier to clean. The reason it has so many holes, by the way, though, despite being magnesium, which is supposed to be lighter, is that magnesium isn't actually a lighter material. It's just a stronger material to its weight. So basically, if you want to take advantage of magnesium as a material in a gaming mouse, you have to put a lot of holes. If not, it's actually going to end up being heavier than a plastic mouse. The advantage is that you can use a lot less of magnesium since it's so strong, and that ends up with a shell that's a lot lighter than a plastic shell. It's just that you kind of have to deal with this exoskeleton looking thing. What that means though is that you end up with a mouse that's very nice and cold to the touch, which feels great after long sweaty gaming sessions, and something that's unbelievably rigid, which means if I threw it at a wall right now, it still wouldn't break. Though the internals might, the shell will remain intact, which is great because it is going to be stronger than my will to live after wasting $300 on a Viper Mini Signature Edition. Another big thing that they're using to justify the price of this mouse is the fact that it comes in a watch box. As said in my April Fool's video, this is clearly inspired by expensive watches, which is why I called it a watch box. It's a big leather hefty box with Razer logo. It looks really nice, to be fair. Like, it's really nice design. Another thing they use to justify the price is the 4000 Hz polling rate dongle, which is basically a Razer Hyper polling dongle, something I have explained weeks ago in another video when I was still back in Singapore. The whole concept of it is that it polls 4 times more than a 1000 Hz mouse, which is supposedly both better for tracking and, you know, clicking accuracy, but as far as I can tell, it's not going to be a really major difference maker. Like, it's more placebo than anything. And also 4000 Hz does have a lot of software issues in that when you're running at 4000 Hz, you eat up a lot more battery in your lightweight gaming mouse, which doesn't have a lot of battery to begin with, and it also takes up more of your computer's CPU cycles, so it's actually going to slow down your computer a little bit, which means lower frame rates. And in occasional situations, especially with lower end rigs, if you're kind of making a lot of quick inputs in a short span of time, it might slow down your computer or cause it to freeze or lag, and in some cases, which I've experienced before by the way, crash it. Also, by the way, this mouse does come with some grip tape in the box if you want to cover up the expensive magnesium shell with cheap rubber 3M tape. Don't, please. If you buy a magnesium mouse, enjoy the feeling that it's magnesium in your hands. Please, I beg you, for the love of God. The grip tape on here doesn't make sense. As far as wireless performance goes, it's got basically the same hardware as the Viper V2 Pro, so really excellent, but can't quite touch the G Pro X Superlight in terms of battery life, despite having this excellent level of latency. So it's kind of pros and cons, right? In conclusion then, is the Viper Mini Wireless Signature Edition a gaming mouse you should buy? The answer is no. I don't need to explain it. It's not something that you should buy. It's not worth it at all. So then why did I buy it, and why did it launch, and was Razer kind of wrong for doing it? Well, I bought it because I'm a reviewer and I was curious to see what it was like, and I wanted to make a video about it. But then moving to London got in the way, and a bunch of different things got in the way, so now here I am. But number two, Razer's also not wrong for actually launching an expensive gaming mouse like this. There are some level of justifications to its really high price. It's fancy marketing. The fact that it's a general release product, not a limited group buy thing like Final Mouse, means that costs are higher, so pricing has to be higher. It's also by Razer, so it's internationally available, and that adds to the cost as well. And it also does bring a slew of interesting technologies, like the 4000 Hz polling rate included as standard, the glass feed probably add a little bit, and of course the magnesium shell, which obviously is where most of the cost has gone into. But the biggest problem with this mouse is really not the fact that it's a scam. I think it does do enough to somewhat justify its very high price, especially since it's a luxury product targeted at a luxury buyer which price is less of a concern. The biggest problem with it is that it justifies its price in ways that the average gamer looks at and goes, this is just vulgar, disgusting, frivolous luxury things, which it is. In the same way that someone who is struggling to pay for groceries is going to look at a rich person flexing with a Ferrari and go, this is just a terrible waste of money. It is. But to the super rich, at which the product is targeted at, it's not really a scam or anything. It's just not very reasonable to the average human. Not saying that I'm in the Ferrari category, I just bought it because I'm a reviewer. As a result though, the average gamer gets very frustrated looking at the Viper Mini Wireless Signature Edition, because this is going to have an inflationary effect on the market, especially since it does seem like it has kind of sold quite well, and it means that other manufacturers will probably follow suit and have really expensive products, and that's going to drive the average price up, which is going to be frustrating for people who like gaming mice. But I think the biggest frustration, really more than any of that, is the fact that Razer released this first before releasing kind of a normal Viper Mini Wireless. Like, they decided to answer the community's hype and desire for a Viper Mini Wireless with something that most of the community can't buy, and also completely ignores the fact that a large reason as to why the original Viper Mini was so popular and so well loved was because it was just accessible, affordable quality for the masses, because it was such a good price. And because of that, the community obviously is mad, and they are justified to be mad in the same way Razer is completely justified to make a product like this, which is just, you know, a messy situation. As for me, my personal take on the Viper Mini Wireless Signature Edition is a beautiful piece of engineering, and I absolutely admire the magnesium shell. I really like fancy materials and things, and I really like fancy build quality, so I actually really do quite like this mouse. It's just that for the price, you would expect it to be perfect, and it isn't quite, and it still has QC issues, and it still has problems, even though it's by Razer. Thankfully, substantially less than Final Mouse, substantially less than G-Wolves, which is like expected because Razer is so much bigger and more established of a company, but there still is, and for $300 you kind of want that to not be an issue at all. I mean, we will never know whether this launch was a misguided decision to try to answer the monumental hype for a Viper Mini Wireless with something insane and something crazy, or just Razer actually just being greedy by launching the Signature Edition first and not bothering with a cheaper Viper Mini Wireless until much later, because we'll never know the internals of the Razer design. Either way though, the Viper Mini Wireless Signature Edition, if you're an average gamer, don't buy it. But if what you're looking for is a luxury good to, you know, experience or to show off or to flex or to admire as a collector's kind of item, if what you're trying to do is admire some cool engineering, sure, go ahead. There are reasons as to why it's interesting. For everyone else who's just looking for a gaming product, wait for the Viper Mini Wireless that's cheaper, that's going to come out in a few months, or buy something else like the Lemzu Atlantis Mini. With that, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're looking to buy a Viper Mini Wireless, you know where to find me. Hit me up on Discord.